Hello, kindergarten readers! Today I have a very fun interactive read aloud to share with you. Some of the things you may be asked to do today are to think, to talk, and even to act it out. Are you ready? Let's go! Today I want to share with you a book called Honeybees by Alan Walker. Today, as we're reading this nonfiction book about honeybees, we're going to be thinking about what points is the author trying to make about honeybees and how does he prove his points? We're also going to want to pay close attention to the illustrations and ask ourselves, how do they help us to learn even more about honeybees? Bees. There are thousands of different kinds of flying insects. One kind is the bee. There are about 20,000 kinds of bees. The four bees we may see the most are honeybees, bumblebees, carpenter bees, and sweat bees. What did the author want us to learn about in this part? I think the author wanted us to know that there are lots of different kinds of bees. And also for us to see pictures of the four kinds of bees that he talked about: the honeybee, bumblebee, carpenter bee, and sweat bee. Honeybees. One very important kind of bee is the honeybee. Honeybees are social insects and live in colonies. I just heard a point that the author was trying to make. The author wanted us to know that one very important kind of bee is the honeybee. We're going to have to look for reasons why the author thinks that the honeybee is very important. Let's keep reading. These colonies build homes called hives. Inside the hive, the bee builds a comb made of beeswax. Three kinds of bees live in a hive: a queen bee, drone bees, and worker bees. Each kind has a special job. Bee facts. Queen bee. There is only one queen bee in the hive. Her job is to lay eggs. Drone bee. Drone bees are male. Their job is to mate with the queen. Worker bee. Worker bees are female. Most of the bees in the colony are worker bees. Worker bees build the hive and comb and protect pollen and nectar. Here we are learning about the different kinds of bees in the hive. Let's look closely at the pictures and the words to see if we can learn even more. I can see from the picture that the queen bee is the biggest bee. And the words let me know that she only has one job: to lay eggs. Honey bee parts. Honeybees have three main body parts: head, thorax, and abdomen. They also have 6 legs. This makes them insects. After reading this part, what can we learn from the words? I think that we can learn that honeybees have 3 main body parts: head, thorax, and abdomen, and also that they have 6 legs. Now I want to study the picture more closely and think, what can I learn from the picture? I can see that we can see exactly where the 3 main body parts are. Using the words and the picture can help us to understand more about the honeybee. Honeybees at work. Honeybees help pollinate plants. They fly from plant to plant and collect pollen. They carry the pollen on their legs in pollen sacs. I think the author is making a point here. What is the point the author is making? Think about it. I think the author is making the point that bees help to pollinate plants. Now I want to think, what are the reasons the author thinks this? Well, right here in the text it says that they fly from plant to plant and collect pollen. That's how they pollinate plants. That's how the author is proving that bees help to pollinate plants. Honeybees also collect nectar. They use their proboscis to suck nectar from the flower. Now it's your turn to act it out. Put your finger out and pretend that is the proboscis. Pretend to suck up the nectar from the flower. Good job. Bees store the nectar and pollen in the comb. The nectar turns into honey. The bees use the honey and the pollen for food. Ouch! Only female bees have a stinger. The stinger is used if the bee or colony feels threatened. The sting of a honeybee is painful. It will cause a sore spot and swelling. Once a honeybee uses its stinger, it dies. Bee facts. When a honeybee stings, its stinger gets pulled from its body. This kills the bees. Honeybees play a very important role in nature. If you see a honeybee, don't be afraid. Don't bother it, and it won't bother you. And here we have the glossary, so that we can learn some more about some of the vocabulary words that were in our story. I hope you enjoyed this book and learning a little bit more about honeybees. Now it's going to be your job to reread this part and think, what is the author trying to prove here? What point is the author trying to make? And then, what reasons does the author use to prove his point?